We think Napoleon conquered Europe with cannons and bayonets, but that's only half the story. The real conquest happened with signatures, seal wax, and balance sheets. Behind every battlefield genius was a quiet machinery of treasury officials, bankers, and clerks. The empire didn't just rise on military might. It rose because Napoleon rewired France's money. He understood that a state can outfight its enemies for a season, but it can only outlast them if it outfinances them. This is the story you were never taught. When Napoleon took power in 1799, France was a financial wreck. The monarchy had collapsed under its own debts, and the revolution's attempt to fix it with paper money, the assignats, had backfired, causing hyperinflation. Confidence was zero. Armies marched in wooden shoes. Creditors wanted gold, not promises. Napoleon, a systems thinker by instinct, knew he had to restore credibility first. In 1800, he created the Banque de France, a hybrid of private investment and state direction. It wasn't a bank for courtiers, it was an engine for stability. Its banknotes were strictly limited, sending a clear message: this money's real. Then, he anchored that confidence. He rebuilt the treasury, putting a genius named Napoleon in charge, who ran it with a discipline France hadn't seen in generations. In 1803, he introduced the franc germinal, a new currency defined by fixed weights of silver and gold. After years of paper mirages, money was tied to reality again. A baker, a soldier, a supplier everyone could trust that a franc today would be worth a franc tomorrow. But a strong currency needs strong taxes. Napoleon dismantled the old, corrupt system of private tax collectors. The state would collect its own revenue based on detailed land registers called assessments were based on measured acres, not negotiated influence. He even created a supreme audit court to track every franc with the same rigor he demanded on the battlefield. With this stable foundation, he turned to financing his wars. And here, he was brutally modern. Victorious campaigns weren't just strategic wins. They were revenue events. He levied huge fines on defeated nations. He made occupied territories pay for the troops occupying them. The front paid for the front, sparing the treasury at home. When he sold Louisiana to the United States, it wasn't a colonial dream he was giving up. It was a cash infusion he needed now. The empire became a self-funding machine, as long as it kept winning. But every system has a stress test. For Napoleon, it was the sea. In 1806, he launched the Continental System, a massive blockade to strangle his great enemy, Britain, by cutting off its trade. On paper, it was brilliant economic warfare. In reality, it backfired. Smuggling exploded. His own allies suffered. The blockade meant to starve the enemy began to bruise his friends. It was a hard lesson. Coercion can enforce policy, but it can't replace economics. The final blow came with the snows of Russia in 1812. The disastrous campaign was unjust a military catastrophe. It was a balance sheet killer. The Grand Army was the Treasury's most expensive asset, and it was wiped out. The war machine that had been funding itself suddenly needed a massive bailout the state couldn't afford. The arithmetic turned against him, and yet, the financial spine he built for France didn't break. When he was exiled, the Banque de France remained. The franc germinal held its value. The tax collectors kept their roots. That is his deeper legacy. He standardized the nation, proving that a stable currency, professional administration, and predictable laws create an engine of state that can outlast any single leader. So what does this mean for us today? First, financial education isn't a hobby. It's citizenship. Understanding how currency credibility works, how taxes are collected, and how law underpins credit is understanding how power truly operates. Second, real wealth is built on structure, not speculation. Napoleon's durable legacy came from things you could trust: sound money, fair taxes, and clear laws. And third, money and power are still married. The rulers who understand that finance has limits are the ones who last. The image to remember is a ledger lying open next to a map. Napoleon understood both. When the numbers in his books matched the lines on his maps, he was unstoppable. When they didn't, defeat was already on its way. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers I'll show you where to look.